I want to welcome everybody to today's virtual coffee hour. And to start us right off, we are going to do a Menti.com poll. So if everyone could either take out their phone and they can click on the QR. If you turn on your camera, you can click right on the QR code, or you can take your browser and go to Menti.com and you're going to put that number in. I'm going to do the same thing with my phone. So I'm going to turn on my camera on my smartphone. And I'm going to go right up to that QR code. I'm going to click on it and it's going to bring me right to, right to Chrome. And I'm going to open it up in Chrome.
Michelle, I'm going to share my screen so everyone can see that as it is taking place. I'll give you a minute. I'll give those who just joined on a few minutes to open up their camera as well as go to the website. And I put the link in the chat as well.
Great. And the question is, what is your favorite childhood winter activity? And then you just answer it and then submit it. And then you're going to share your screen, Deb, so that we can see. Great. What everyone's answers are.
Does everyone see that?
Yep.
Awesome.
So sledding and hot chocolate, a fire. Oh, I love that. That is one thing I do miss. For those that are just joining us, we are doing a Menti.com poll. So if you want, you can go to Menti.com on your browser or on your phone and type in the number 8984004. And tell us, what is your favorite childhood winter activity? We thought since it's January, we wanted to know what everyone was doing in January when they were a child. So campfires, staying at home, the theater, okay. Laying on the beach, that's definitely me. Snowball fights, I miss those. Hot chocolate.
I haven't gotten it.
All right, well, we're still going to do it. We're going to give it another minute before we shut this down because we'll have another poll in a minute. Lots of people sledding. Oh, so Demoris wrote, my mom's chili beans, slaw, and cornbread. That sounds good. It sounds really good. And I'm still letting people into the presentation. All right. Forts, snowball forts, vacationing with cousins and family in Georgia.
Oh, Valdosta.
Yeah.
Yay.
All right. All right. Well, thanks everybody for sharing that.
Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our, I'm going to call this our annual coffee hour. I'm so excited that we're able to do this again in 2021. I want to remind everybody of our purpose, to provide a space for mentors to meet, network, and discuss challenges and solutions to virtual mentoring. I'd like to take a minute to introduce our department facilitators. When we go into our breakout rooms, you'll be able to meet some of our colleagues that we work with. Sheila Kane. Sheila, if you just want to wave, she's our parent engagement coordinator. Keosha Simmons, she is our parent advocate and takes stock in children's coach. Debbie Bushman, she is our Lunch Pals coordinator, and Debbie and I are going to work closely during this coffee hour. Meredith Pollard. Meredith, I don't see you. Where are you? She's somewhere here. There she is. She is our Lunch Pals administrator, and Dr. Valerie Brim, our director of our department and our keynote speaker, and I'll talk more about her in a minute. And I'm also going to introduce Laura Carpenter up there at the top.
Hello.
Laura is a family and community liaison at our Tarpon Middle School. All right, so as I said, Dr. Valerie Brim is our keynote speaker today, but before I turn it over to her, I have a couple of things I just would like to go over. I want to make sure that everyone is receiving our monthly newsletter, and if you're not, please put it in the chat and we will make sure that you're on our list. And for those who are still in need of some Zoom help, we are holding workshops. We're calling that 1.0 for beginners. And then if you want to increase your education in Zoom, we also have 2.0 that we are now doing. We have lots of activities and tools to help you with your mentoring on our website. So please make sure that you're going onto our website. I want to talk a little bit of ground rules. Please, participants, stay muted. When we go into the breakout rooms, obviously we want you to unmute yourselves to be able to participate, but in order to make sure that we don't have a lot of background noise, please keep yourself muted. If you have questions, please put your questions in the chat. I know that I did see some people who may have a phone number. If you want to actually have your name on the screen, for those that are using their computer, if you just hover over with the mouse on your face, you'll see 3 dots. If you click on those 3 dots, you can name yourself or rename yourself. I'm going to do it right now. And then for those that are on the phone, Deb, can you just put the instructions in the chat for people who are on their smartphones or who are on an iPad, if they would like to change their name. Please keep your cameras on. We want to be able to see you and we want to be able to get some head nods. Also, if you like something that you hear, click on that reaction button down at the bottom. I'm just going to do it so you can see a thumbs up or a thumbs down. We like to see reactions. And again, if you have a question, please put it in the chat. Sheila Kane is going to be monitoring our chats for us today, and she'll call out any questions that you may have. What's most important is what's shared here stays here, and what you've learned here leaves here. This session actually is being recorded today. So hopefully, if the recording works, we'll be able to send it to everybody that's on this session today. We might even post it on our website. All right, so we're going to do one more quick poll. You won't have to leave your browser. Deb is going to post it. There we go. So how do you plan for your mentoring sessions? Could you please answer? You can use multiple answers. And this is anonymous, so you don't even have to worry about whether or not we're going to find out whether you plan or not plan. If you use intentional questions or you follow up with things that you learned about that student the prior week, or if you're using our website for the activities, we really want to know. We'll give it just a minute here. I think we're still seeing some people answer some of these questions. Breakout room discussions are not part of the recording. Oh, there you go. Thank you. So yes, breakout rooms are not part of the discussion and that won't be recorded. All right, Deb, you want to end the polling and let's see what everyone has said? Okay, so very few of you don't plan anything. That's awesome. I develop intentional questions. That's great. I follow up with the prior week's discussion. The majority, great. And that's really important because that way they know you're really paying attention to them. And I use the topics on the website. So that's great. Awesome. All right. Thanks, Deb. Thanks, everybody, for participating in that. All right, so Dr. Brim, if you want to put up your presentation, I'm going to do an introduction. Dr. Valerie Brim is the Director of Strategic Partnerships in Pinellas County Schools. She began her education career in Pinellas in 1986 as a science teacher at Lago High School. She also taught math and personal fitness. Dr. Brim was appointed assistant principal at Safety Harbor Middle School prior to serving as principal at Pinellas Park Middle School. In 2005, she was appointed as director level administrator in the Office of Professional Standards, where she was responsible for addressing employee discipline. Dr. Brim received her doctorate in education, leadership and policy in 2003 from USF. In her present position, Dr. Brim oversees the District Volunteer Mentor Program, Family and Community Engagement, Parent Advocacy, Take Stock in Children, STEP, 5,000 Role Models, America Reads, and community organizations, faith-based organizations, and business partnerships. In her position, she was instrumental in Bridge the Gap Initiative, Scale Up for Success, Fairmount Park Initiative, Model After Harlem Children's Zone, America's Promise Summit, and much more. All right, Dr. Brim, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Well, good morning, and thank you all for attending our coffee hour this morning. I do think this is a wonderful opportunity for us to share and to learn from each other. So one of my movies, because I am a real action-packed person, one of my favorite movies is the Transformers. And so you see on the picture, my favorite character in the Transformers. But this morning, we're going to look at it a little different. We're going to look at the gift of transformation. And I want you to think about, I want you to think about mentoring as is transformational. It is a mindset change. When you think about 30 minutes of your time every week for at least 34.6 weeks, which is pretty much a full year, you're meeting with the individual. And when you're meeting with that individual, do you have a mindset that I'm making a difference? That I could see that my mentee is being transformed? When we can respond to those questions, only if we think about mentoring is transformational, it's intentional, it's purposeful. We want to eventually see outcomes from our mentee. So this morning, I thought about, what does it mean to be a transformational mentor? And when you look at transform, the word transform, it means to change. It means to become something different, or to add to my piece, to make something different from me as an individual. And so not only are our mentors are transformational, but also our mentees help us to transform. So I thought about using gardening. Now, this is something I don't do often, and I just want to put it out there that I'm not an expert, but I just thought this was just really important, because when we plant flowers and when we plant something, we're looking for the fruit of what we planted. So with that, I want us to start out thinking about our mentees as different types of soil. And I want you to really think about, you have sandy soil, you have clay soil, and look at the pictures. You have slit soil, chalky soil, loamy soil, peat soil. But when you look at, let me just take a moment for you all to just really look at the different types of soil And I want you to think about when my mentee comes to the table, we don't always know the soil, their upbringing, their background. And so each individual is different, and what they bring to the table is different. And so those of us who do garden, you will know that if I have sandy soil, I'm going to have to do something a little different than if I have clay soil. So I want you to take a moment to think about these definitions as you think about your mentee. Sandy soil is something that's light, is warm, is dry, but I want you to think about it's low in nutrients. Sometimes our students come to the table and they have those characteristics of being warm, or their soil is dry. But the key thing with this, they're low in nutrients. What does that mean? That could mean they're coming to the table with low academic abilities. They're coming to the table not knowing anything beyond their community. They're coming to the table not even knowing how to build relationships with adults. So you see low in nutrients. But clay is heavy soil, high nutrients. That means that somebody is coming to the table that has a lot of what we call their with it. They're very bright. They're headed to college. They understand the dynamics of getting good grades. They know how to communicate. So those types of mentees might not need as much nurturing from the mentor because they come to the table with high nutrients, but they still need some care. When you look at SLIT, if I'm saying that right, light moisture, retentive soil type with high fertility rating, that might be a good way of saying, okay, the soil that I'm going to be working in has a lot of potential. We might not see it right away, but I know this person, something in this person, if I begin to sow into their lives, if I can create the transformation that is needed. But that chalky, which is light, heavy, but high alkaline, that's not something we really want to be working in. So it's going to take a little bit more to work when we're dealing with our mentees. And loamy, which has rocks, and you could tell sometimes you see the rocks on the surface, but we don't know they're also embedded in the soil. I can remember hitting those huge rocks and the work that it would take to get those large brick-like rocks from the soil before I can really nurture the soil. So some of our mentees, yes, it's going to take some work. And then you have the high organic, but they like moisture. And as we know, we could have high organic, but if we lack that water or we lack that moisture, it can impede our growth. So when you're thinking about all of these mentees, remember the soil that you are going to be dealing with. But here is the key as a mentor role. I might be the planter. What does that mean? I might just be a mentor that plants seeds. How does that look when we say we're planting seeds? If I have a student that I know I see something inside, and I can begin to plant affirmations, I can plan to say, you know what? I see you're good in math. You would be an awesome engineer. Or you're wonderful in science. You should look at something like aerospace engineering. Or you seem to be so loving when you talk about your mom and your family, you ought to look at becoming a nurse. Or, you're planting those seeds. You're planning on, when you hear kids that might say, I don't think I'm pretty. Then you start planting seeds of, you look gorgeous today. Oh, I like what you have on. You would be surprised. Those seeds that you plant will start to grow the more and more your mentees hear those affirmations or hear those encouraging words. But this is the thing about planting seeds. As mentors, we might not ever see the outcome of the seeds we planted. Some of us, they come back around and they hunt us down and they tell us their great stories. And others, they move forward in life and they're prosperous. But we have planted those seeds. Another role is watering. We might be the one that just come around. The seeds are planted. Now they just need a little bit more care. So we pour the water. We make sure that we're giving them the added nutrients for them to grow. And oftentimes we see in our mentees, oh, I do see something there. Someone has said something. They might say, my mom always says to me, you're going to do something in life. So why don't you take your water and just pour on that and just begin to add those intentional lessons to make those plants grow. The hardest piece of all the road is the cultivators. Because guess what? I want you to think about, my parents grew up kind of farming the land. And my father would talk about how hard sometimes it was to break up what we call the fallow ground, and how hard it was and how resistant the soil was and how long it would take to prepare the land for planting the food and whatever they were planting. Some of our mentees will be challenging. They will cause us to want to say, you know what, I think they need another mentor. But those are the ones that are really what I call cultivators. They hang in there. They mold those mentees. They plant seeds. They water the seeds. They continue to just dig in and work around that soil. And the time that they spend, they believe that child will be transformational. So we have planters, we have waters, and we have cultivators. But I want you to keep in mind, it's all in the role of being transformational. So how do we do that? How do we get at that? And earlier in the poll, there were several of you that said, be intentional about planning your session. And you know what that takes? That takes intense listening. That takes you, if a kid drops a crumb and you hear the crumb when it drops, you pick it up and tuck it away. But next session, you're going to remember it and you're going to talk about it. You're going to create conversation about it. So you're going to be very intentional about planning your sessions. And if you're not that great in planning, use the toolkit. Our team, Mrs. Simmons and Mrs. Robert and Mrs. Bushman, they worked extremely hard in building a toolkit where you won't get stuck on conversations, or you have a toolkit to go to say, okay, here was the highlight. Let me find something that complements this conversation, and you use it from the toolkit. But increase your listening skills to identify the soil content. And that might be a little difficult. For those of you who work in gardening, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. But the only way you can tell the seeds that have been planted and watered and the ground that has been cultivated is through listening, is through conversation, is through patience, is working closely with our mentee every single day. And remember that you want to transform. You just don't want to show up to say, well, I want to be a person who gives back. You're more than a person that gives back. You are a person that will be transforming students, individual lives, transforming students to be the next leaders in our world. So think of yourself as we move forward. I am a transformer. I can transform. In my session, I know I can add to my student to make them a better person. So think about that you are a transformer. And the most important piece to me about transformation or telling transforming stories is that if we were born perfect, then I guess we pretty much be done on earth and we would be in heaven. But that's not the case. We were not born perfect. We had to go through trials. We had to go through failures and ups and downs. But students can be changed through your life story. They're real stories. They're lifetime stories, and they transcend us during adverse times. When kids are at the brink of their lowest point, and let me tell you something, during this pandemic, we've had a lot of students that are suffering social emotionally, students that have attempted suicide, students that we don't even know that are hurting. But guess what? Mentors keep a pulse on those students. They're encouraging those students while they're being transformational. They're adding their life story. So I want to share a story that it really is a story, but it was the most impactful story that I heard most recently. And I know many of you have probably heard, and the story is about Ron Diner. So let me just tell you a little bit about Ron Diner. Ron Diner works for Raymond James, and he started mentoring. He got involved with 2 students early on at Mount Vernon in the elementary level. And he began to see the power of mentoring. And so he began to talk with his stakeholders and funders at Raymond James that this is the most important thing that organizations can do is mentor a student. But he just didn't talk about it. He put money behind it. And so Lunch Pals was birthed based on him recognizing that mentors can be transformational. But that's not the story. So, as students grow, move from elementary to middle school, and as a principal of middle school, as a parent, middle schoolers really begin to think they got it together and they don't need a lot of adult guidance. So one of Ron's mentor decided that when he started looking for his mentees this year, one of them disappeared. So he would call and he would say, have you all located my mentee? No, we haven't. What are you doing to locate my mentee? I need you to get a hold of somebody at his house. I need you to find where he is. If he's missing from school, he was relentless with us finding his missing mentee. So when we did find the mentee started thinking, well, I don't think I need a mentor anymore. And of course, we said, okay, He doesn't need a mentor. Not thinking about, are you kidding me? You're in middle school. You at the most vulnerable age of your life in school. So we call Ron and kind of share anything. He says, what do you mean? I've had this kid as a mentee since elementary. I'm just not going to accept him saying he doesn't want a mentee. So when we got to the bottom line, he wanted to be. He cared for Ron, but more so he loved Ron. He wanted Ron to continue to be his mentor, but more so than that, I don't think I've ever met a mentor that was fighting to hang on to their mentee. That's what you call impact. That is what you call transformational. That is what you call that I know what I'm doing is transforming lives, and at the end of the game is going to make a difference. And so today, that's what I'm encouraging us to do. Think about being transformers. Think about transforming our students' lives, that they could start out being a Volkswagen and end up being a Range Rover. They could start out being a beat up old car and end up being a Corvette. Or we just don't know the seeds we're planting, the water that we're applying, and the ground that we're cultivating. We might be setting ourselves up for our next president or the cure of cancer. So let's continue to be transformational, and let's change our mindset that we will transform. So at this time, we're going to do a breakout room activity. And the question is, as a transformational mentor, how are you going to be bringing about change or provoking thoughts or intentional conversation? What do you mean? If you know a kid doesn't have time management and you know what it means as an adult to be on time, to set up your calendar, to write down organizational skills, how do you bring that to the table and share with your mentee? Or if you know a person easily can get angry, what kind of de-escalation techniques did you use with your children? How can you share those skills with your mentee? So at this time, I am going to stop sharing and turn it back over to Michelle so we could do our breakout room. And I don't know if you're going to do questions and answers after or the breakout room at this time. But if you have questions.
Would it be all right, Dr. Brim? I'm going to we'll leave this open for a minute or two. If anyone wants to ask Dr. Brim a direct question, we will only do the breakout rooms for about 20 minutes, Deb, and that will give us hopefully some time at the end for feedback of whatever was discussed in the breakout room to be able to share with everybody. So why don't we, if anyone does have a question, you can put it in the chat or unmute your mic. We'll have to do it one at a time, of course. Otherwise, we're going to go right into the breakout room. So I'll give it a minute if anyone wants to post a question in the chat. Or yes, Janet, I see you.
I have a little girl. We do this during lunch pals, and her mom always packs her a huge lunch. And so she's really consuming this lunch the whole time we're talking. But then what she wants to do is go into Minesweep, and she changes the screen and she just wants me to watch her play a game. And I'll say to her, you know, we only have maybe about 15 minutes left. Let's get back to something we can do together. And so we've tried playing Hangman. Now she excels in math, but she can't spell. And so Hangman's become kind of difficult for her, because if I'm guessing the letters halfway through, she'll go, oh, this doesn't belong here, you know. I don't know how to rein her thoughts in so that we can have a conversation. I try to think about the things that she shares, which aren't a lot, but I pick up on the things she likes, and then I talk to her about them, but she talks for just a second and then skips back to the game she wants to play. She wants me to watch her. So maybe she doesn't get a lot of attention at home. What do you think?
You know, if she likes playing those computer games, there are so many games like, or so many, what I call software that you could come to the table and set the stage for it. So for an example, a Nearpod. A Nearpod will permit you to create activities. And some of the activities will give you an opportunity to ask those questions about what do you want to do in life? Do you think we can get you there by talking about it every single session? We could reserve, I know you love playing games, but we could reserve 6 minutes of our session talking about what skills we need to develop for you to become that nurse. So you have to almost meet those students midway to kind of add to their activities. So that's what I mean, anybody else want to chime in, that can be helpful.
Why don't we, since it's 12:06, why don't we, Deb, go into our breakout rooms? Put the breakout rooms for 20 minutes, and then we'll all come back. And Deb, before you go into your breakout room, just make sure that everyone is in. And then if the facilitators, could you please kind of remind everybody of the prompt and open up for discussion. So once you go into your breakout room, please make sure that you unmute yourself. You can just tell everybody your name and then post some ideas or questions in the breakout room. All right?
Everyone in room 7, I will be in there as soon as I make sure everyone's in the room.
Thanks, Deb.
All right, Susan, I will try to put you in a room. Let me see. There we go. Everyone is in the room. Okay. Copy. Broadcast. Control V. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Awesome. So thank you for attending our virtual coffee. So the question is, as a transformational mentor, how are you bringing about change or provoking thoughts and or intentional conversations? So who would like to start? And if you can, unmute yourself. We're a smaller group, so the background noise should be okay. Does anybody have anything?
Well, I came to this meeting today for some guidance because I have not seen, I'm going to call her my kiddo, in almost a year. And when I saw her last in March before the spring break, before they shut everything down, we were actually starting to get a little closer, and she was letting me in her world. She had this little guy that she liked, and was willing to start share about feelings and whatnot, and then everything ended. And now I'm getting ready to start back up on Wednesday because it took a while, I guess, for them to get some computers. So I have, I've sent a few emails through the liaison that she has, shared with her and everything, but I just wanted to get thinking about what Dr. Brim said, with the transformation and the different types of soil and whatnot. And I can't remember the exact ones. I would say my girl was the second type of soil. But I just wanted to get others' opinions about how the virtual mentoring is going, you know, what's the best way, perhaps thinking in a transformational way, to reconnect with somebody who literally you have not been in touch with for almost a year. And I'm sure a lot has happened in her life, a lot has happened in my life, you know, those kinds of things.
It, yeah, those are definitely great things to think about. Would anybody like to share anything who has been mentoring already that they might share with Lisa what you did? I don't know if Rebecca, if you can unmute yourself, or Barbara, if you have anything. Have you guys started meeting with your students?
Yes, I have a little one, but he's first grade, so it's hard to compare with a child who's older, who's
Okay.
teenager. But he is super talkative, but the imagination is really, really big. But he just totally enjoys just being listened to, I think. And I'm just using the questions off of the sheet. We've only met 3 times.
Okay.
And, when there's a little lull, I just take one of those questions and ask him one of the
Awesome.
questions. And he's great. And he really looks forward to it as much as I do.
That's awesome. And you know
Yeah.
what, those topics and activities that we provide, we have them for elementary school, and then we have middle school and high
Oh.
school, as well as students who are Hispanic and African American. So we have some topics and activities. I do see, give me just a moment. I might have to hop out of our room because I think I saw someone trying to get into our meeting. So I'm going to hop out just for a moment and then I'll hop back in. But if you guys want to continue that conversation, for me, I'll give real quick is I have 2 middle school boys that I've been mentoring, and I use a book that I'll pull out when I come back. So give me just a moment. I'll be back.
Well, while Debbie's gone, this is Barbara, and I'll go ahead and make a couple of comments. I do think that the toolkits that are divided into the different ages, elementary, middle, and high school, really are focused on a child's developmental stages, which are very important, I think, to understand.
Hi, welcome to, are you there? It's just me. All right.
I do think the thing that, though, is so important to them is, Rebecca, as you were saying, your child really wants to be listened to. And so, to me, that's a great starting point. Where does a child think they are? What things are they interested in? That's what I've been doing with the young girl. She's 11 that I mentor. I knew, she's told me this, that she's very interested in travel. She comes from a family that's actually very attentive to her, and her brother are good parents, that sort of thing. But at the same time, she has, as any individual, needs and things she's interested in doing and knowing about. So, and for a good reason, she, I think, had asked for a mentor actually to be assigned to her. She told me she wanted me to know she's ADHD, been on medication and that kind of thing. So, I understand what that is and what, and that kind of thing. So at any rate, just kind of basically just summarizing, I do think it's very important to understand the developmental stages of a child and try to key into those. And I do think the toolkits that are provided are directed towards that.
That's awesome.
Thanks. I think what I'll do, because it has been a while, I mean, literally, I work for the county. I've spent the past 7.5 months working with the COVID CARES financial assistance program. So I've had no time literally to look at any of that stuff in a good long while. So I think in preparation for the meeting on Wednesday, I'll go ahead and take a look at some of that stuff again, because I did use some of those things early on, and then, the relationship went from there. But it'll just be really interesting to see after a year in a different kind of format, how we're going to pick up where we left off, I guess, because she's in 3rd grade this year. So,
okay. And it'll be nice. I'm sure when you guys see each other, just commenting, oh my goodness, you've grown so much, just, and it's, when you haven't seen a friend in a while, I'm sure she will kind of have a lot of things to share with you, of what's been going on in her life and how school's going, whether she's virtual or in person. So that's awesome. Devin, are you a liaison? Awesome. So what school are you at?
Anona.
Anona. Awesome. So how's your guys' virtual mentoring? Maybe you can share with some of the mentors online how that's going.
We are working on having it all ready to go by the end of this month. So
Awesome.
I'm pushing
Okay.
the end of the month.
All right.
So hopefully I'll have everything out by the end
Yeah.
of this week for schedules and that kind of thing. And maybe, but hopefully if not this week, then next week we'll start our actual sessions.
All right. I got to hop out real quick. I got that person back in. I'll be right back. Hi, Bert. I hope you can hear me. We are in breakout rooms. I'm going to put you in my breakout room because I just introduced myself, and then we'll let you know what's going on, okay? And it looks like, here we go.
Showed me her fingernails and she was so proud. And here again, it's a developmental age, I think. She had gone to the to get a manicure and had gotten some of the really longest fingernails I've ever seen. They're acrylics. And she liked them at the time. She was very proud of them. She wanted to show me. And so, right away I was able to kind of pick up on the conversation because when I was working, I used to get my nails done all the time and I had acrylics and whatnot. So, I could talk back and forth with her about that. But at any rate, and by now though, she's off of them. They were too expensive and the little pet bird she has didn't like them, was chomping on them and whatnot. So, but at any rate, that's just kind of a little example of how Lisa, both you and Debbie had kind of said that, wow, you need to kind of, because your time is short with him, and if you can be fortunate enough to pretty quickly key back into, where they're coming from, it can be helpful. It helps that conversation continue.
Well, it's going to be really
Hi,
interesting when I see her, because last year I worked for the county and they gave us 90 minutes to travel and be with them and get back to the office. So I would get up there because the school wasn't very far. And I would actually spend more than the half an hour with her because she didn't want me to go. And, I'm like, okay, I don't have to go. I'll just go back, and eat in my cubicle when I get back and not worry about, the lunch or whatnot. And so it'll be interesting now that it's virtual. They're probably going to cut it to a strict 30 minutes and not, Yeah, so we'll have to definitely speed things up, I guess, for lack of because sometimes I would be with her for an hour because she had PE and she didn't necessarily have to go to PE and she wanted to be with me and she wanted to take me around the school and show me things and we'd read some more, just whatever, and play with the Beyblade. I didn't even know what a Beyblade was until I met her. That was kind of fun.
That's neat.
My name is Allison McJunkin, and I just wanted to give you a suggestion. You said that she loves showing you things, and you could use the new virtual space as an opportunity for her to show you things in her room or around the house, like, or like, tell me some things about you. Do you want to show me some things around your house that are representative of you? But you could use virtual as a new opportunity to learn more about her and allow her to show you things about her life that you wouldn't get to learn about in the in-person space.
That is true. Yes.
Or even share screen option on Zoom. So if, you have she might have some pictures that she's taken of activities she's done. It's definitely an opportunity for using that the Zoom platform for that, and yourself as well. You know, it's our, you know, when we share our stories, whether it's a trip or something that we've done, we can use the Zoom platform for that. So, and as Dr. Bremet said, is, you know, every meeting that we are with our student, we are watering into their lives. We are tilling that ground to help them bloom into the person that they will be as an adult. So don't feel like, you know, maybe the conversation was a strong one, but you never know what you said really might have impacted them. So just, and definitely, you know, listen to what they want to share, give them that opportunity to share, you know, some, you know, their feelings or an activity they are doing currently in school, you know, how they're processing the virtual, you know, their friends being virtual and not being able to see everyone. So does anybody have anything else that they would like to say that they bring to, you know, how you might bring about change or provoking thoughts or intentional conversations you might have with your student?
One thing I would can just pitch out, and it's in regard to the 30-minute lunch hour. And my mentee is on a strict time schedule, so we really are limited to the 30 minutes because she's got to get to her next class pretty much right away. But at any rate, because also that 30 minutes is the only time they have to eat. What I do with her pretty much early, she has a nice appetite, a good appetite. And you hate for them to not be able to eat, you know, lunch.
Yeah.
So at any rate, what I do pretty much always and since she loves travel and that sort of thing, I have a CD player, and I have a number of the Broadway musicals, you know, that, and so what I'll do, I'll pick out a song. It could be a Mary Poppins, it could be Sound of Music. I mean, they're always age appropriate.
Mhm.
And I'll play those, and those usually go for, you know, several minutes. And she's chomping away. I mean, she's really eating right in the beginning, and she likes that. You know, and she tells me that all the time. I really like doing that. But that is a good way to give her, you know, the child an opportunity to eat. You know, maybe pretty much, I mean, the food's warm and hot right in front of them. They've picked it out, you know, before we go into just talk back and forth time, where it's kind of hard to talk back and forth when somebody's trying to eat too. So
That's a great idea. I like that. Does anybody else have anything they would like to share?
Debbie, I don't want to monopolize the conversation, but I want to pitch out something real super quick to you as a
Sure.
facilitator before our time gets cut off. I know we're all about Lunch Pal and mentoring, but do you know, is any tutoring able to happen on the virtual platforms? You know, as a volunteer, I had been tutoring a child, and we wanted to get it set up, but it just seemed like it hasn't been able to happen schedule wise and so forth.
I think that's going to be school specific. You know, just depending on how the schools are handling that. I know that a lot of staff at the school might be picking up on that. But Devin, do you might have some insight on how a school directly is implementing tutoring?
The only thing that I know of right now is we're doing ELP still. And
And what is that?
extended learning in the afternoons.
Okay.
And so, and that's with our teachers and staff here. I'm not aware of anything as far as tutoring. Like I said, is that even with Lunch Pals, we're still just now getting that so close to being started that I don't see, in my opinion, I don't see where it would be that different.
Right.
And so I would advocate for it.
Definitely.
And that kind of thing. So, because I don't see how it could be handled it could be handled very similarly through the platform.
Virtual platforms. Right. I would suggest, Barbara, calling whatever school you were at tutoring and seeing what they're doing. You know, like mentoring and even volunteering. No volunteers are going on to campus. So, you know, what they're doing in place of that for tutoring. I'm not sure. It will be school-based. So call
Okay.
the liaison at whatever school you were at to find out what they're doing and,
Okay.
you know, see what you can do about going and being a tutor virtually as well.
Great, thanks.
Yeah. And here's a book that I use, and I know we maybe mentioned it in the mentor workshop, but it's the kids' book of questions, and there are over 200 questions in here. And what I do is I have my students, because I have one boy, he is very difficult to have a conversation with. Unless I'm asking questions, he's not going to talk. And I meet with two of them actually at the same time. They're good friends. And one of them's like, can you pull out that book? One of them now is like, they love to do this. And I say, give me a random number. And I go to a question. Some questions might be geared for middle school and high school. So you might go, okay, let me, pick something else if you need to. But, there's some great questions in there and, some thought-provoking questions in the book that make them kind of think about what their response would be. And, if they've never been through a certain situation, what would they do? So you're helping them develop those critical skills on problem solving, as well as coming up with a different solution for something. So maybe they responded, they share that they responded in a way that wasn't correct. And I'm like, well, how would you do it now? I mean, if you wanted to do that over. And so it's a good book, and it's by Dr. Gregory Stock, and you can get this on Amazon. It's under $8 typically. It's sometimes with free shipping. So that's something. And like I said, we have lots of resources. You can even use, if you haven't started, you can, it looks like our time is up. So we've got like 15 seconds. I'm going to close out, but we have lots of resources on our website. See you guys on the other side. They'll give you the option to leave the breakout room. Welcome back, everyone. It is amazing how quickly the time goes.
It does. I think I was cut off in mid-sentence. So we only have 2 minutes left. I'm wondering if anyone from the sessions would like to kind of share out. Sheila, I'm going to call on you. You want to share out some discussion points? And then what we'll do, we're going to put in the chat our survey. So if you guys could fill out the survey, and we will, anyone who was the facilitator, please send me your notes. I will post those notes and send them with the recording. So go ahead, Sheila.
Sure. Our group had a lively discussion about pretty much, we got it back to being transformational, but we started with the questions about priorities in your session, right? How do you, which definitely links to, you've done some intentional planning, you've got some things you want to follow up on, and your kid wants to do something else. So how do you manage that? And understanding that, giving your student choices and yet setting some boundaries as well. This is what we're going to do for the first few minutes. This is what we're going to do, for the last few minutes. You can pick what we do in between, or vice versa, and just allowing the relationship to build by basically, respecting your student, even if they're, in first or second grade. I mean, they're being there and you're being with them is a privilege for both of you. And so you both need to, honor and respect each other and set that standard as the mentor that, we're going to do this for, whatever amount of time. And so we really got into how that can then lead to, time well spent on your intentional questions, which gets you to those transformational moments. And a couple of our mentors actually talked about having those transformational moments. And we loved the whole analogy of the garden and the soil, and we're, all of us are left with some nuggets about that. So.
Great. Thank you so much. Well, I want to thank everybody. I want to thank Dr. Brim for a great presentation. Dr. Brim, you have lots of great chat messages. Everyone loved what you shared and your passion about mentoring and how important and impactful it is. Someone's writing from group 4. I don't know what that means, but anyways, so, okay. I know
That
that
was our
everybody
group.
has, oh, okay, great.
I don't know,
that,
Scott, that might be Scott. I'm not
yes,
sure.
it was Scott. Mhm,
Yeah, I was
yes.
trying to type my notes since we don't have a lot of time to the chat room.
Oh, okay. Well, you can just send it to an email. I will post, actually, Deb, can you post my email? So for anybody who was taking notes, Deb's going to post it in the chat. It's my last name, Roberge, M,
Gotcha.
ROBERGEM @pcsb.org. Please send me your notes and I will share everyone's thoughts and comments with all of you in an email with also a copy of this recording. Again, I want to thank everybody so much for joining our coffee hour. Please watch for our flyer for February. I think it's going to be February 22nd. We might actually have a student who's going to present about her experience having a mentor now that she's out of school and working. And so to get her kind of take on what that experience was like and what it meant to her. So we look forward to seeing you all next month. Please take care, be safe, and we'll see you all soon. Take care. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr.
Thank
Brim.
you. Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
everybody.